In the small, sleepy town of Harrow, New Jersey, stood a once grand home known as Harrow House. Built in 1895 by the wealthy Worthington family, the house had seen its fair share of grandeur, but by the mid-20th century, it had fallen into disrepair and was considered something of an eyesore. Rumors about its eerie past had been circulating for years, but few people knew the full story. The last Worthington to live in the house was Eleanor Worthington, a reclusive woman who had lived there alone for over 20 years after the death of her husband, Charles. Eleanor was known for her peculiar behavior and her obsession with the old home's intricate clock tower, which had long stopped working. Neighbors whispered about her strange rituals and her insistence that the house was calling her. In 1953, Eleanor disappeared without a trace. The authorities conducted a search, but she was never found, and the house was left to languish. Over the years, it became a local legend, a place where children dared each other to enter, and adults spoke of in hushed tones. By the early 1980s, the house had become a real estate liability. A young couple, the Harrisons, Peter and Laura, decided to purchase the property, drawn by its potential and the challenge of restoring such a historic building. They were aware of the house's reputation but dismissed the stories as mere superstition. The first few months of renovations were uneventful, but strange occurrences began soon after. Laura noticed that objects in the house seemed to move on their own. A book that she had placed on a shelf would be found on the floor the next morning. Peter dismissed it as the work of creaky floorboards and old house quirks. One evening, while Laura was alone in the house, she heard a soft, mechanical ticking coming from the clock tower. The sound was odd because the clock hadn't worked for decades. Curious, Laura decided to investigate. She climbed up into the clock tower, where she discovered an old, dusty clock covered in cobwebs. As she approached it, she felt a cold gust of wind and heard a faint, mournful whisper that seemed to say, "Why did you leave me?" Laura, unnerved but unwilling to admit fear, went back downstairs. That night, she had vivid dreams of Eleanor wandering the dark hallways of the house, her face a mask of sorrow and desperation. In the dreams, Eleanor would always reach out to Laura, as if pleading for something. The next day, Peter, trying to reassure Laura, decided to work on the clock tower himself. As he tinkered with the ancient mechanism, he discovered a hidden compartment inside the clock. Within it lay a bundle of old letters and a small, intricately carved wooden box. The letters were written by Eleanor to her late husband, Charles. They were filled with love, longing, and an increasing sense of despair as she mentioned feeling trapped in the house and unable to leave. The wooden box contained a locket with a picture of Charles and a note that read, "Together forever, no matter what." Peter and Laura were deeply moved by the discovery and began to understand the gravity of the situation. They learned that Eleanor had become obsessed with the idea that she and Charles were bound to the house, unable to be together in death as they had been in life. Determined to help, they reached out to a local historian and a paranormal expert. After reviewing the letters and understanding the history, they performed a small, respectful ritual to honor Eleanor and Charles and to help them find peace. They repaired the clock and set it back to working order, believing that completing its function might be symbolic of freeing the spirits trapped within. That night, as the clock chimed midnight, Laura heard a final, soft whisper, "Thank you." The house felt different, lighter, almost as if a great burden had been lifted. Over the following weeks, the strange occurrences ceased. Harrow House was no longer just a relic of the past but a restored piece of history, where the echoes of a love lost but never forgotten finally found peace. The Harrisons remained in the house for many happy years, and while they would occasionally recount their eerie experience to visitors, the story of Eleanor and Charles became a gentle reminder of love's enduring power and the importance of acknowledging the past. With the house's renovation complete and the unsettling disturbances now a thing of the past, the Harrisons settled into a comfortable routine. Harrow House became a beloved centerpiece of the community, and its story of restoration and redemption added a new layer to its history. As the years went by, Peter and Laura made significant contributions to the town's historical society, ensuring that the story of Eleanor and Charles was preserved and remembered. The house hosted community events, and its once dilapidated clock tower became a symbol of both the building's and its occupants' resilience. However, in the early 1990s, new developments began to stir the quiet of Harrow House. It started with subtle changes, an unexplained cold spot in the library, flickering lights that seemed to follow people around the room, and soft, melodic chimes from the clock tower that seemed out of sync with its usual ticking. While these occurrences were subtle, they reignited old fears among some of the townsfolk, who whispered that maybe the spirits had never truly left. Laura dismissed these fears, attributing the disturbances to old house quirks or the natural settling of a large, historic structure. But as time went on, she and Peter couldn't ignore that something more seemed to be happening. The incidents were too specific, too timed, to be mere coincidences. One evening, as Laura was sorting through old documents in the attic, she stumbled upon a new, hidden compartment behind the paneling. Inside, she found a stack of letters that were different from the ones discovered years earlier. These letters were addressed to Eleanor, but they were written in a delicate, almost youthful hand. The letters were from a young woman named Margaret Worthington, a distant relative who had lived in Harrow House around the time Eleanor had disappeared. Margaret had written to Eleanor about strange dreams and feelings of being watched. Her letters expressed fear and confusion, as she felt she was being drawn into the same obsession Eleanor had experienced. Margaret's letters suggested that Eleanor's restlessness might not have been her own fault but a consequence of something more malevolent tied to the house. The final letter was a desperate plea for help, stating that Margaret feared for her safety and that she believed the house was somehow trapping its inhabitants, feeding off their despair. Laura shared these findings with Peter, who felt a renewed sense of urgency. They reached out to the paranormal expert who had assisted them years before, seeking guidance on how to address the new developments. The expert explained that the house might indeed be holding on to residual energy, and that the spirits of Eleanor and Charles might have been disturbed by these new feelings of fear and confusion. It was essential to perform a deeper cleansing of the house, not only to honor the spirits but to ensure the safety and peace of current and future occupants. With this knowledge, Peter and Laura, alongside the expert and a small group of trusted friends, undertook a thorough cleansing ritual. They meticulously went through each room, using traditional methods to release trapped energies and to reassure the spirits that their time had passed. They also placed a new, symbolic clock in the house, representing a new chapter of peace and renewal. As the ritual concluded, the disturbances ceased once again. The house seemed to settle into a profound calm. The eerie feelings that had resurfaced were replaced with a sense of serene presence. It was clear that the spirits of Eleanor and Charles were finally at peace, having been given the acknowledgement and closure they needed. In the years that followed, Harrow House became not only a treasured historical landmark but also a symbol of resilience and redemption. It stood as a testament to the power of understanding and respecting the past, and to the importance of providing closure to those who might still be lingering in sorrow. The story of Harrow House continued to be a cherished part of the town's history, with Peter and Laura often sharing their experiences with visitors. They emphasized the house's transformation from a place of distress to one of peace, ensuring that the legacy of love and the lessons learned were never forgotten. And so, Harrow House remained a beacon of hope and history, its once haunted past a distant memory, overshadowed by the enduring peace and warmth it had come to symbolize. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you like this story. As the years passed, Harrow House continued to thrive as a symbol of history and harmony. Peter and Laura Harrison enjoyed a peaceful life in their historic home, often hosting community gatherings and sharing the story of the house's transformation. However, they remained vigilant, always mindful of the lessons learned from their previous experiences. In the early 2000s, the Harrisons decided to undertake a new project, restoring the overgrown gardens that had once graced the estate. As they worked on clearing the underbrush and reclaiming the garden's former beauty, they stumbled upon something unexpected. While digging near the old garden's perimeter, Peter's shovel struck something solid. After some careful excavation, he uncovered a large, ornate iron chest buried beneath the roots of an ancient oak tree. The chest was covered in grime and rust, but its intricate design hinted at its historical significance. Curious and excited, Peter and Laura carefully pried open the chest. Inside, they found a collection of old journals, photographs, and documents that seemed to date back even further than Eleanor and Charles Worthington. The papers were dusty but well preserved, suggesting that they had been buried for a long time. The journals belonged to Margaret Worthington, the young relative whose letters had been discovered years earlier. However, these new journals revealed more about Margaret's life and the events leading up to her own mysterious disappearance. The entries detailed her growing unease with the house, not just from Eleanor's obsession but also from increasingly disturbing occurrences that Margaret believed were linked to the manor itself. One journal entry, dated just before Margaret's disappearance, mentioned a hidden chamber beneath the house. Margaret wrote about discovering a passageway that led to an underground room, describing it as a place of strange symbols and an aura of dark energy. She feared that whatever was in the room was somehow feeding off the distress of those who entered the house. The discovery of this journal entry sent shivers down Peter and Laura's spines. They realized that the unrest they had experienced years ago might not have been entirely resolved. Determined to uncover the truth and ensure the safety of their home, they enlisted the help of the historian and paranormal expert once more. The historian, intrigued by the new findings, researched old blueprints and historical records. They discovered that there were indeed mentions of subterranean passages in the house's original architectural plans, though these were thought to be myths or architectural anomalies. Equipped with this new information, Peter, Laura, and their team began a careful investigation of the house's foundations. After several days of meticulous searching, they located an entrance to the hidden chamber described in Margaret's journals. The entrance was cleverly concealed behind a false wall in the cellar. With a mixture of apprehension and resolve, they entered the chamber. Inside, they found an underground room with walls adorned with strange symbols and old, dusty relics. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, but they proceeded with caution. Among the relics was an old, intricately carved stone altar. Upon closer inspection, it became clear that the symbols were related to old occult practices, suggesting that the house might have been used for rituals long before the Worthingtons lived there. This explained the persistent unease and the feeling that something malevolent was at work. The team conducted a thorough cleansing of the chamber, using both historical and spiritual methods to neutralize the negative energy. They also placed protective symbols and artifacts around the room to ensure that it would remain safe. Once the cleansing was complete, the atmosphere in Harrow House felt markedly different. The sense of oppression lifted, and the house seemed to settle into a new era of tranquility. Peter and Laura decided to preserve the chamber as a historical site, with a respectful display that explained its significance without invoking fear. The story of Harrow House and its hidden chamber became a fascinating chapter in the town's history. Peter and Laura continued to live in the house, enjoying its restored beauty and peace. The manor remained a testament to the enduring power of understanding, respect, and careful attention to history. Visitors to Harrow House could now appreciate not just its grandeur and historical significance but also its remarkable journey from a place of distress to one of lasting peace. The story of Eleanor, Charles, Margaret, and the hidden chamber was shared with respect and care, ensuring that the lessons learned from the past were never forgotten. Harrow House stood as a symbol of resilience and the importance of addressing both the known and unknown aspects of history. And while the spirits of the past were finally at rest, their stories continued to shape the legacy of a house that had seen it all. Years after the successful restoration of Harrow House and the cleansing of its hidden chamber, Peter and Laura Harrison lived in a tranquil, if somewhat uneventful, existence. Their dedication to preserving the house's history and its newfound peace had brought them closer to the community and fostered a deep sense of fulfillment. However, in the summer of 2015, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. One warm evening, as Peter and Laura hosted a garden party to celebrate the house's anniversary and their ongoing preservation efforts, an elderly woman named Agnes Harper arrived at the event. Agnes was a local historian with a deep interest in the region's history, particularly the stories surrounding Harrow House. Agnes approached Peter and Laura with an air of excitement. "I've been researching the Worthington family for years," she said, "and I believe I've stumbled upon something you might find fascinating." Intrigued, Peter and Laura invited Agnes to sit down and share her findings. Agnes revealed that she had uncovered a series of letters and documents related to the Worthingtons that had never been made public. Among them was a series of correspondences between Eleanor Worthington and a mysterious figure named Jonathan Harcourt. Jonathan Harcourt was a name that didn't appear in any previous records of the Worthington family. The letters suggested that he was a scholar of the occult and had been in contact with Eleanor in the years leading up to her disappearance. The correspondence hinted at dark rituals and a search for a way to break a curse that Eleanor believed had been placed upon her family. According to the letters, Jonathan Harcourt had proposed a solution involving an ancient artifact known as the Elder's Key, a key said to hold the power to unlock hidden energies and potentially release trapped spirits. The artifact was described as being hidden somewhere on the estate, though its exact location was never revealed in the letters. Agnes's discovery suggested that the key might be crucial to understanding the full scope of the disturbances at Harrow House. Peter and Laura, both curious and concerned, agreed to work with Agnes to search for this elusive artifact. The search led them back to Harrow House, where they meticulously combed through historical documents, old blueprints, and architectural plans. They also revisited the hidden chamber, hoping that the key might be connected to the symbols and relics found there. After weeks of searching, Peter stumbled upon a small, concealed drawer in the old library's massive oak desk, a drawer that had previously gone unnoticed. Inside, they found a small, ornate box. The box was covered in dust but had an intricate design similar to the descriptions of the Elder's Key. With great anticipation, they opened the box. Inside was a key, aged and tarnished but unmistakably significant. The key was engraved with ancient symbols that matched those found in the hidden chamber. With the key in hand, Peter, Laura, and Agnes carefully returned to the underground room. They examined the stone altar and discovered a lock embedded within it that they hadn't noticed before. With a mixture of nervous excitement, they inserted the key into the lock. As the key turned, a faint rumbling echoed through the chamber. The stone altar shifted, revealing a hidden compartment beneath it. Inside was a scroll containing further instructions on how to use the key to unlock and release trapped energies. Following the instructions, they performed a ritual to activate the key's power. The air in the chamber seemed to shimmer with a palpable energy, and the oppressive atmosphere that had lingered for so long began to dissipate. As the ritual concluded, Peter, Laura, and Agnes felt a profound sense of relief and clarity. The hidden chamber no longer felt foreboding. Instead, it seemed to radiate a gentle, calming energy. With the mystery of the Elder's Key resolved, Peter and Laura decided to share their findings with the public, including Agnes's research and the newly discovered artifact. They held an exhibition at the Historical Society, showcasing the key and the story behind it. The event was a great success, drawing interest from both local residents and visitors. Harrow House, now fully at peace, continued to stand as a symbol of resilience and the importance of understanding history. The house was no longer just a place of haunting tales but a testament to the enduring strength of love, dedication, and the quest for truth. Peter and Laura lived out their years in Harrow House with a profound sense of fulfillment. The house, once a source of unease, had transformed into a beacon of hope and historical significance. The story of Eleanor, Charles, Margaret, and the mysterious Jonathan Harcourt became an integral part of the town's heritage. And so, Harrow House remained a cherished part of Harrow, New Jersey, a place where the past was honored, and the present was embraced with the knowledge that even the darkest secrets could eventually be understood and resolved. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you like this story. Years after uncovering the Elder's Key, Peter and Laura Harrison had settled into a peaceful routine, their beloved Harrow House a symbol of serenity and history. The house, now fully restored and free from its past disturbances, had become a local landmark and a beacon of the town's heritage. One crisp autumn day in 2020, while preparing for another community event, Peter discovered a hidden compartment in the library's grand fireplace. Inside, nestled in an old leather-bound journal, was an envelope addressed to the next keeper of Harrow House. The letter inside was from Eleanor Worthington herself. In elegant script, Eleanor wrote about her sorrow and the curses she feared. But the letter's most astonishing revelation was a final request. If you find this, know that the true power of Harrow House lies not in the keys or artifacts, but in the love and dedication of those who care for it. The letter concluded with a simple message. The house was never truly haunted, it was waiting for someone to unlock its heart. As Peter and Laura read the letter, they understood that Harrow House's true legacy was not the ghosts of the past but the enduring spirit of those who had cared for it. With this revelation, they felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that their dedication had honored not just the house's history but its true essence. Harrow House continued to stand as a testament to the strength of love and the power of preservation, its story now complete with the knowledge that it was cherished not only for its past but for the hope and harmony it had come to symbolize.